Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today our distinguished guests are Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much for having me on. Welcome to my living room. It's a combination Christmas and Hanukkah.
Yeah, wonderful combination. And also we have yet Professor Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Mhm.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken. Coming to you from our son's house in suburban Atlanta.
Ooh,
Nice. And we might be joined by Jim Ead from Ead Foundation. In this case, if he is already here, welcome to the show, Jim. And if not, maybe he'll join us a little bit later.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, we have a lot of things to cover today because we haven't been around for a while during this holiday season. And first of all, it's a finale of a World Championship match. With a curious move, Rook F2, forcing
Yes,
the outcome of the game in a matter of seconds.
right. If time allows, I'll do the two decisive games before that because they kind of build up to what was going on. But yes, of course, and then I'll tell my story of experiencing that last game.
Okay,
So
let-
shall I go? Shall I launch into it?
okay.
All right. So, and then the other big news from yesterday in the Rapid Championship was Magnus Carlsen losing to Denis Lazovic. And that game also has its interests. Okay. So we pick it up with the 11th game. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Where Gukesh struck. Now watch the clock for Ding Liren. So this is an ambitious way for Black to play against the Reti opening, playing D4 and C5, walking right into the hyper-modern strategy of undermining the advanced center for Black. Okay, and White eventually will take over the center for himself. A3 may already be a new move. And notice that Ding Liren on his last move, okay, consumed almost 40 minutes. This is going to be a major aspect of this game. Consumed another 20 minutes there. Big block of time.
So, Ken, I suspect that perhaps he was better prepared for 4 bishop to B2, which has become a lot more popular, giving a locked pawn position on the queen side. And after E3, the game becomes very, very tactical. And I suspect he didn't feel prepared to go into some of the tactics that you can have after E3. There are a lot of wild lines there. And so the line that Ding chose there is something that's playable, but a little bit out of the character of the normal position. So I think they're playing chess very quickly.
Are you saying 4E3 was unusual or 5A3?
It's not unusual, but recently 4B2 has become more commonly played.
For Bishop B2.
Bishop B2.
Yeah.
And the idea there is Black has to play very, very carefully. Otherwise, Black's going to break the center open. And after the pawns are locked, then the bishop will actually come back to C1. And you'll get a long positional maneuvering game. And I played this in the 33rd World Championship twice. And it's quite an exciting line. So.
Okay.
So the way that the game, so Ding's knight f6 followed by bishop to b4 is an original. I mean, at least as far as I know, this is original, and both sides have a lot of ways to go wrong, and they found some.
Yes, it's well motivated. It's taking pressure off d4, but obviously you have to you have to make sure that White cannot simply gang up on the pawn. So we've given up the 2 bishops. So now what is happening? Can Black hold on? And this is a very fine move. So But whatever, it's taken. Ding is now more than an hour behind on the clock.
Yeah.
So anyway, so b5 might not be the most aesthetic move. The other thing is, the stockfish that we're looking at the windows is one of the reasons I've had it open, does show that black is more than equalized.
Yeah, b5 is certainly more in the character of the typical lines.
Yeah. So I mean, white's bishop on c1 is good. White's bishop on f1 is bad, but the f1 bishop can find the long diagonal. So
yeah, one of the themes in this line is that frequently white can sacrifice the pawn on b6 to get an open b file, and we're going to see that.
We are going to see that, yes. So the bishop b2, and black plays the other knight. So black is just playing for strong squares. Dark squares, although you have to make sure that d4 doesn't just fall off. So there we go. Is black going to win a pawn? Nope. Black shores up the center. And now this move is criticized by the engine, saying e6, bishop d6 is a much surer way to go. Now the other thing of note is that Gukesh has consumed a lot of time on these moves. So at this point, things ought to be looking very rosy for black, and especially with either of the moves, e6 or weirdly f6, just again clamping down on squares. But anyway, g6 also looks very believable, but it has a very strange flaw which Gukesh finds and exploits. It allows white to play this b6 move. Okay, making space on the queen side. It allows white to flood the queen side in a position where you wouldn't think that was happening at all. So the pawn on b6 obviously is immune because the knight hangs on e5. But now white's bishop exploits the a4 move prepared it for, and especially with black feinting to move the bishop away from f8. These dark squares on the queen side are going to be relatively unguarded. Okay, so white actually, relieved the tension there, but this exposes another little bit of a flaw in black's position. There's now weakness on the light squares. So rook d7, very natural move, shoring up b7, but white is just going to put pressure on. White is down a pawn, but white has all the play. Black's bishop on h6 is striking empty air, as they say. And so here comes more of white's pressure. And then this is a move, it looks like a natural move to cut down white's scope in the center, but it's a miscalculation. Right? So it turns out, well, white could have taken on b7 right away, although that creates a bishop colorless position that maybe white thought wasn't sufficiently clear. So white just adds more pressure, and black cracks with the next move. So what black should do is stick the knight on b4 to at least block, one of white's rooks and anchor a piece on a good square. But instead, Ding played queen c8. Thinking the book on e7 is now guarding d7, but all you did was leave a knight on prise.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's a sad way to win a game.
Yes, very sad way to end. So definite cracking, and both players were down under 13 minutes, but certainly pressure and time pressure combined. However, amazingly, Ding Liren struck back just the very next game, and so let's see now. Are you seeing that in the same tab?
Yes.
Okay, so this actually is a really fine display of so Gukesh now plays the position with black's pawn on d4. Maybe this just isn't as good as for dynamics as we think it is. However, Gukesh again obtains what, according to the engine, is a fine enough position. Okay, in a little while. Okay, so maneuvering game. There's nothing wrong with black's position right now. Rook b8, though, gives white a chance for an initiative in the center, so you have to look at lines White could play queen e2, queen d2, queen c2. Queen z2 is what he played. So now knight b5. Anyway, okay, so maneuvering game, more maneuvering. Now white comes forward, and from this point on, Ding gives a masterclass in just applying pressure. White has a rook on d1, queen on d2, and that's better than black's queen d8, rook b8. And this is what eventually comes through in the position. So white is a better center, just has to find a way to mobilize it. So yeah, all these queen feints, but need to be looked at. White certainly has enough covering d4. White think about getting the knight g1 into the game. Here it comes. And now this is a mistaken impression of the position. Looks like black is doing something active, but all that's happened is the reality that white's minors, piece for piece, are better than black's. White's bishop on g2 is better than black's bishop on g6, for instance, because it's attacking something. It's not tied down. So black felt the need with white potentially crashing through in the center or taking on g6. So knight takes g6 would be death to black's light squares. So black therefore has to give up dark squares. So this is now groveling for black, and black makes a very grovelly move. And Ding Liren said he didn't even see that white could play knight a7, but it really doesn't matter. White just.
Well, on the other hand, that knight on b5 is a lot stronger than that buried rook on c8, so I can see why he didn't even look at that.
Yeah.
Although his intuition did not hold as fast later in the match.
Yeah. So now the knight anchors.
This is crushing.
Yeah, this is already very clearly a crush, and we just play a few more moves until white eventually crashes through. Rook e7, that's already crashing through. D7, and that was the key ace. Okay, and black resigned. This bishop takes f8 and make a new queen. Okay, so commanding win by Ding Liren, everything to play for. Game 13, Ding held as black, although a pawn down. Okay, so just worth looking at the positions that he had. He defended a rook ending, a pawn down, but hey, it's a rook ending. Add a pair of bishops and things get more complicated. So now we go finally to the fateful game. And the story I'll tell was I of course, screening the match, I considered this Thursday that, so it was, I think my last lecture day, or maybe not, no, it was afterward. So I considered that I would get up at 6, join the stream at 6 o'clock in the morning, and have the game on, follow it for real. When I drowsed awake at 6, though, I saw the position around move 19, and I figured the game was heading for a draw. So here we go. Okay, no opportunity for black to play d4. This is a very solid, tried, tested variation. Dan, you may know there are subtleties that I don't. But okay, here we go. Now the pawn goes on d4. And of course it's challenged, but we get a position where things simplify. I don't know, according to the computer, white could maybe meaningfully play for an edge here, but
I mean, this is just dead equal. I mean, there's nothing here unless one side screws up.
Yeah. Now e5 changes the character of the position a little bit. And it is here now that that Ding Liren could have opted to play more enterprisingly by playing f4 after capturing on d4. So if white's going to make anything in this position, it would come from play like this. Okay, but Now, maybe black can just ignore white's demonstration, take on c4, play rook c8 as the engine wants to do. But at any rate, this has some enterprise in it for white. So instead, however, white captures on b5, and now it's 3 against 1 on the queen side, but black has advanced restraints against white's expansion. So unless there's something tactical on the long light square diagonal, this position doesn't promise anything. So, okay, here's the thing that's tactical, but it doesn't accomplish anything. So this is fine, and this is when I drowsed awake. And I saw, okie doke, this is, going to become a draw. So I went back to sleep.
Yeah, and it looked like if anything, maybe, if black wasn't alert, maybe white could get an outside pass pawn and create some troubles. But didn't happen.
Didn't happen, no. In fact, now, so that's I think about 6:30 my time. And then I slept for an hour, and I woke up around 7:30, and I'll tell you the position. So this was b4, and I saw white played a4. So this is when I woke up again, I think, or maybe here. And so I thought, oh wow, okay, so white is just going for the end game. With can white hold the pawn? White decided not to try to hold on to the pawn. The white is just trying to hoover off pieces and play this endgame. So then I went back to sleep for real. Okay, I didn't think that black had meaningful winning chances in this position.
Yeah, this is about the time that I went to breakfast, and I told my wife with confidence that the game would be going into playoff.
Yeah.
The next day.
I slept until 11 because I really had a tiring term. Well, teaching 2 courses with new prep, and I discovered the singular value decomposition, low rank approximation to large quantum states was last topic I was teaching in my course, and it was richer than I knew. So I, really got into it. So anyway, so I was really knackered and just slept till 11. And I woke up and discovered that this game had not ended in a draw. That was a shock. But let's see how that happened. Okay, so g5, a good move to know if you're playing these kind of endings. It prevents h4 or f4 by white. Staking out that advanced outpost would just lead to more trades. However, here we come more trades, but black is able to duck out of it. The rook ending really would be dead draw. Okay, so white is playing actively. Bishop ending dead drawn. Black avoids it. Okay, now black gains more space. And the question is, can white engineer? If we trade one more pair of pawns, then that really should end the winning chances, depending on the position you get. So white does, in fact, engineer a trade of one more pair of pawns. Okay, there we have it. So at this point, now I really would expect the game to be going to a draw. Except there is one little dynamic in this position. If black can establish the bishop on this square, then a capture will create a passed pawn for black that might make some sort of difference in the rook ending. Otherwise, black might take over the long diagonal. So that's the latent issue for white in the position. Anyway, it's a long time before black can make taking over the e4 square a reality. White goes back and guards it again. Okay, now bishop did not have to go to a8. That was already a fateful choice. Could have gone to g2. G2 is where I would have put it. Anyway, so rook f4. Here we go. Here's the suicide play. So king e5, and now rook f2. Why? The rook was perfectly good on the 4th rank. Why are you doing that? I guess maybe it was observing that black with the king on e5 could potentially support bishop c4, d3, e4. Anyway, so the problem.
One of the grandmaster commentators that I heard said that in this position, Ding probably just forgot that his bishop was on A8.
Yeah, it could be.
So
Yeah.
in his mind, he probably had it on B6. I'm sorry, C6 or another safe square. So it's hard to imagine, how a grandmaster and a top 10 nominally player in the world basically does the one thing here that not only risks loss, but with just a fairly simple calculation gives an elementary position that an A player or an expert or even a master could mess up. But grandmasters, I believe, know these positions almost in their sleep.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this position will definitely reappear in Ding Liren's sleep for
Yes.
a long time.
Nightmares.
So the problem is that White's bishop is cornered and has to come off. And now the important thing here is this is the opposition. Now this is where Ding gave up. There is an important fine point. So we'll play this out a little more. White plays king d3 and black plays f4. Now if White captures, then black will be able to assist the pawn from the side. It'll be an easy win. The subtlety is what happens if White plays here. There is a winning move and a drawing move. And the main thing is you have to have sacrificial intent rather than greed. So the win is to play this.
Yeah.
But now I think you can delay. I think you can putz around and sack the pawn on f1, making a queen. The engine wants to play f2 right away. Okay. And now you have to find the right move for black here. Diagonal opposition, king d4. And on any other file, this would still be only a draw. So the one thing about the knight's pawn is that the usual way to hold by getting the opposition does not work here, because it comes out that this is a win. Okay, also the usual way to hold does not draw here for other reasons. I'm sorry, I should back up. That's the usual way to lose. But the other way to play king g1, that loses prosaically to this. So that's the problem with this position. So
yeah, I guess if Ding would have played king e1, then it makes black find king e5 with a distant opposition. But I mean, this position is basically in textbooks on opposition.
Let's see. Which one? Let's see.
Instead of keep going back.
Okay. Oh, king e1. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, further.
Okay.
Instead of king e3.
Oh, let's see. Oh, right. Oh no, let's play king
e1 here is a little bit tricky because if White plays king e4, I think it's actually a draw.
Then king e2 is a draw. That's right. Yes.
No, yeah, exactly. And so he has to find king e5.
Yes, that would have been a better try. Quite right.
Yeah.
And then if king f1, you go king d4. Okay.
Yeah. And if king b1, then you get into a position that's not unlike what you showed in the game, and you get into the position with the pawns on g4 and f3, and you're able to do the same sort of finesse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really instructive ending, even though I'm 100% know that Ding knows this ending and just didn't see that it was coming.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? According to your estimation, what rating both players have demonstrated in the match?
Yeah, so I've been so busy I have not publicized this, but in fact, the ratings that they did were in line with their FIDE ratings. So I get I can look actually at an email because it's not going to show on the screen. Mm-hmm. So yes, so I actually just wrote this to a friend. I reported this to FIDE, of course, and the most important thing I reported to FIDE is that Ding was playing completely up to the level. So here are my intrinsic performance ratings. So the combined ratings, first of both players, were error bars plus or minus just over 100. They were 2765 with Stockfish 7, 2800 with Komodo 13, 2795 with Stockfish 11. That averages about to something like 2780, 2785. And that it was in line with their ratings. Plus, we think of Ding really being 2750 plus. Between the two players, Stockfish 7 and Komodo 13 both ranked Ding at 2750, and Gukesh averaging 2820. Okay, so they rank Gukesh ahead of Ding, but Stockfish 11 puts Ding at 2825 and Gukesh at 2770. And as I explained to FIDE, this is why I have error bars of plus or minus 100 and more. Well, on the individual player measurements, the error bars are plus or minus 170 for Ding and plus or minus 130, 135 for Gukesh. So smaller variance for Gukesh.
Well, as Dr. Tarash said, it's not enough to be a strong player. You also have to play well.
Yes, you have to play well, and that advice even goes for what by consensus is the world's strongest player, because in the defending his titles in the World Rapid and Blitz, he very shockingly lost in round 5. This is the term. This term is being played in Wall Street. So wonderful thing to come to the Big Apple. And there's one particular instructive moment in this game, aside from how Lazovic as white, a Russian prodigy, plays really well. Okay, so we have an almost completely symmetric position, except Black has played A6, which maybe is not the most useful counterpart for development. And then Black plays Rook A7. Now, this must be a known line. Maybe there's some point to the Rook move if Black gets in B5 and the Rook comes to the center. But that does not happen in this game. And what happens instead in a few moves is a very nice stutter step by White's bishop on F4. So White castles, Black withdraws the knight. And now Black Carlsen plays a move, kind of G-pawn lashing out move that we are seeing more and more from the world's top players, but misses a trick. Okay, so White plays bishop E5. Now, Carlsen should whip off that bishop, okay, and have 2 bishops. All right, but instead Carlsen played castles.
Whoa.
And now bishop G3. Okay, so if we go back, the reason why White didn't play bishop G3 is that Black would play H5, and the position is closed enough. Black's king can stay in the center, and Black expands on the king side, well supported with the rook and the queen and the bishop, these 2 pawns. Okay,
but
so
wait a second, Ken, after bishop E5,
yep.
Is Black, it's risky, but maybe Black should consider F6.
That's
it's 3H5 still.
No, do what? Well, E4 has to be looked at because White could try to make a mess in the center. But it's actually the engine is just saying that White simply retreats and Black's loosens more than helped.
Still H5. What else?
Yeah, but what's wrong with H5 now?
Yeah, Carlsen would play it instantly, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So what is different about this position? How is F6 maybe disturbed coordination? I know King F7 is natural. I don't know. It's just a game. This is why computers play better than we do. Black maybe just has a bad organization. But anyway.
Yeah, I think weakness on the white squares just makes it harder for Black to play the position, but it's
It certainly
is
looks
still a
fine.
game. Yep.
But anyway, so Carlsen did play h5
Yeah,
here,
it's-
h3, and so maybe now again Black is plunging ahead too far. The thing is, with a king on g8 and a rook on a7, Black's rooks are not going to get behind this kingside advance.
True.
So, so now the real problem for Black is he can't reinforce his g pawn. It's just going to fall. So, anyways, Carlsen is fishing in troubled waters. Okay, but White just lops off the g pawn, and now King g7 trying to play this strategy, but Black's pawns are horrible. And now the last artful point of the game is the way White takes over the h file. Okay, so rook a8. All right, you have to waste a move to do that. Queen f6. Okay, so rook has to defend. That takes a tempo. Here we go. We're going to try to mass on the h file. Okay, but White simply stuffs it with the knight, and then brings the rook behind. And here Carlsen blundered, but it does not really matter. Actually, the blunder is the best move according to the engine. But, oh no, King g8. I'm sorry, King g8 is the best move according to the engine. But King f8, and White could have played Knight g6 immediately, winning the exchange. White actually maneuvered the queen. I think Lazovic was looking to make sure that in positions where Black gives up his queen, there isn't a fortress. So now Lazovic was satisfied that Carlsen cannot build up a fortress, and White's knight now is going to take over the same squares on the king side. And now there's no fortress, and I'll just play through the rest of the moves. And Carlsen gave up. So sets up interesting things for today in the tournament.
Yeah, and on the ladies' side, on the women's side, Alice Lee had a perfect first day, which was really impressive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You should
Very
mention
nice.
that too. Yeah, that is great. Yes, I met her at the St. Louis Chess Conference for the first time. So that was good. We only spoke very briefly.
So we'll see if she is able to hold her own in the second and third days.
Mm-hmm.
It will be very, very interesting.
Very strong field, so we'll be watching closely.
Yep, and I'm screening it, of course, but doing other things.
And let's hope she will prevail.
Yep.
Listen, thank you very much for today's program, Ken. The games are spectacular, and it's very, very interesting to follow them and see how the best players in the world are still making mistakes. So let's give us some hopes that our game still improve. Well, season's holidays and season's greetings to all. And we will continue next week, right after the holidays, after New Year's Eve. So, and then see you next week in the new year.
Okay, yep.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.